obviously your coach now, you met with Nico, like you trained with him, all that kind of stuff. What was that conversation like and that feeling when you found out that, hey, you're going to kick professional football? Like it's not just a 1 year thing at Kaiser.
Right. So I finished up my Kaiser season, and that would have been like late fall. So, and then I'm wrapping into what would have been spring, and it's my off season, and I had a pretty good season at Kaiser, and I was hitting a good ball, and and I was working with my coach 4 or 5 days a week, and he's like, "Listen, you're hitting a great ball. Um, I had eligibility. Kaiser wanted me to come back.
Okay,
Um, because apparently I had a red shirt and a medical year for NAIA rules. I opted
interesting.
not to, and I opted to try and test my luck at the pros that spring. So the coach that I work with in Florida actually hosts like a weekly or bi-weekly showcase live stream where he'll bring scouts out or he'll post the live stream for coaches to watch. And that's when I met one of my coaches. So my coach works for Cole's Kicking. Have you heard of
Okay.
Cole's Kicking?
I have. I know that they do like ranking stars for
Yeah.
high school kickers going into college.
Yeah, and then they're also just a nationwide training program for
Okay.
kickers. So my coach works in the South Florida division, but his friend from the South California division was out in Florida visiting him and came to one of the showcases. This friend is named Diego, who is now also one of my coaches and a great relationship that I've met. Diego works in the Coles kicking division in like South Cal, SoCal, and like the West Coast. But he has a good relationship with the OC at Vegas and the head coach of Vegas.
Okay.
So they had priorly before him coming out to Florida to hang out with my coach and see the kickers, had told him, "Hey, we're looking for a kicker." And so Diego came out, saw me kick. I talked to him that day. It was just like it was real brief. It was real brief, and he didn't mention anything about Vegas. Just wanted to know my story. We talked about kicking. We talked about my story. Talked about his story, where he kicked at, and then that was it. Kicked the rest of the day, and then I was cooking dinner that night, and I got a phone call from Diego, and he's like, "Hey, I saw you kick today. I sent some film over to the Vegas people and the IFL." Then we had that entire conversation about like what is the IFL? What does this all look like? And he's like, if you're ready, they're ready to have you. And I was like, well, I'm not in a position to say no
Yeah.
because I don't have any other offers at this point. I'm in the spring season, I'm in my off season, but I'm trying to get on a team, right? So I kind of told my parents I was finishing up my master's degree, and I told them like, look, if someone calls, I'm going, because like if the phone rings, I'm chasing it at this point.
Exactly.
While I finish up my master's. So yeah, the phone rang. I talked to Diego. He broke it all down for me, and then he was like, "If you're willing, I can have the head coach call you." I was like, "Yeah, send him over." And then like I hung up the phone with Diego. Not 2 minutes later, the head coach calls.
It's like he was gonna call you anyways, even if you said no.
Right. Right. He calls me. Then he broke down expectations, living, everything that comes along with being in the IFL and at Vegas and all that, offered me my spot. And then the next 2 weeks we were just figuring out classes and contracts and living and all the stuff that goes with moving across the country.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a surreal moment. I was cooking a steak on a stove, and Diego called and he was like, "Hey, you kicked really well. I think you have what it takes." I talked to your coach Tony in Florida. The coach in Florida, his name is Tony,
Okay.
and Tony called me as well that same night, and he was like, "Listen, man, like Diego talked to me. He says he thinks you're the guy. I think you should do it." And he's
I love
like,
it.
"This is what we've been working towards." So I got the okay from all my coaches, got the okay from the dean of the school, my family, so, packed up, went to Vegas to go kick for that season. It was and that was the moment. It wasn't necessarily a moment. The moment that I remember that I'll have forever is, like, sitting there cooking and seeing, like, this random California number call me. But, like, it was one of those calls where, like, it doesn't show up on your phone as, like, potential spam.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's also coming in at, like, 9:30 PM or, like, 9 o'clock PM, right? So I'm like, There's a real person on the other side of this. Because like, sometimes you might just let it go, right? You might just let it go, but I picked it up, and it was Diego, and he was happy to hear my voice, and yeah, and that's, like, the moment that I can pinpoint that was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm about to get offered a professional contract."
Yeah.
Being on the phone with Diego, and then the process behind it is a multi-week, 2 or
Oh, yeah.
3-week process getting everything organized, but that moment right there, standing in my kitchen in Florida, getting that phone call was, like, the moment where, like, when Diego was like, "You have what it takes. I like what I saw. I think you can go to the next level. I have this opportunity for you." That was the moment, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome moment. It's probably a moment that obviously, like you're saying that you remember. It's an overwhelming moment. It's kind of almost like a like point that you're like, okay, I made the right decision. And then turns out it was a more of a congratulatory stake that you end up making because you never knew that call was coming. But it's almost one of those
Right,
calls that you probably take every single call possible because I just think of like the NFL draft for a little bit and you see like videos of like teams like calling the player and they miss the call. Like, how are you
right,
not picking up every single call that comes through? Like, I'm like, if
right.
I'm getting this opportunity, I'm picking up every single call that ever comes through.
100%, and that was the type of situation I was in, like, with my coach and my family. It was like, if the phone rings, I'm picking it up,
Yeah.
and I gotta hear what they have to say. So, I'm glad I did.